So you're working a 9 to 5, but there's a quiet voice in your head saying you're meant for more, or this isn't something that you want to do. Or you're simply that person who just wishes they could change a lot more about the company or the organization or wherever you work to make it a better place or to make it more efficient, and you just can't log off. Like, even outside of when you're not working, you just wonder how much better things can be at the company, and how if you were just a little more in charge of things, how you can really take things to the next level. You are not meant for that company. In fact, you're not meant for any kind of job, any 9 to 5. You might be meant for something different. There's freelancing, there's your own company, there's so many different things. I've always been the belief that 2026 is the last normal year. 2026 is the last normal year because, growing up, our parents were told by their grandparents, become a doctor, become a lawyer, become a engineer, and you're chilling, you're fine, you're all set for your future, and you will be successful, you will be financially well off, and you won't have to worry about much. But I don't think our parents can say the same thing anymore, and they will, but I just don't think it applies anymore. And thanks to AI, AI is going to change things to a level that I don't think we're ready for. Kind of like, the .com boom, except on steroids. AI is going to change not only just our jobs, but how we interact with other people, what kind of jobs exist, because I think jobs obviously will exist. They might not be of the nature that they are today. They will be very different, whether you like it or not. It's coming, and it's just something that you have to kind of embrace, or you kind of just get left behind. I'm not trying to change anybody's standpoint or perspective or anything. I'm just expressing mine. Just wanted to put that out there because people have very strong opinions on AI, but like I said, whether you like it or not, it's coming, and what you do about it is based on you. But the reason why I say 2026 is the last normal year we have is because look at the world today. Things that our parents didn't really see are happening, and the rate at which they're happening and the extent to which they're happening, and that we're aware of, that we stay informed about. There are days when I wonder, are we meant to know this much? I was talking to my grandma the other day about everything that's going on in the Middle East, the entire conflict, the whole show that's happening and unfolding in the Middle East. And I was asking her because I recall her telling me, for more context, she lived in a small town in India back when this happened, like during World War II. She told me how the town that she lived in, she was told to kind of turn off all the lights, and they weren't even allowed to have any candles lit in their town for like a good few days. And I asked her, like, do you remember who was fighting? And she was like, no, we actually didn't know. All we knew was we're at war, but there wasn't as much panic and there wasn't as much anxiety, and people were just like, we'll see what happens. That does not exist anymore. And if it exists for you, consider yourself lucky. Consider yourself lucky that you are at peace of not knowing, because I am not. I need to wake up and I need to look at the daily news. I need to see what's happening, because what's happening will dictate a lot of what I will do. As a brand owner, as an entrepreneur, as somebody who is launching her own fragrance brand, her own body care and ritual brand, and has a global supply chain, there's a lot that's going on, and you can't just not know, and that's the part that sucks, because are we really meant to know this much? And by the way, this doesn't just apply to news and geopolitics and just the state of the world. It also applies to the way we interact with each other on social media. I decided, it's been a while since I last did this, but I just quit Instagram for a few months straight, and I told, my friends and all the people who I, consider close, that I will not be on Instagram. I will not be active. I don't really use any other social media. I don't use Snapchat. I don't use any of those. So I only really use Instagram. So I told them I won't be active there for a few months. If you want to reach me, call me or text me. And I observed a couple things. Firstly, I couldn't stay off it for as long as I wanted to. My goal was to stay off it for 6 months, and I gave up after, I think, 2.5 months, 3 months, if we're being generous. But what happened, and the most interesting that happened, and it was something that I anticipated happening, was, I would gather all my friends and I would ask them, hey, so what did you do last weekend? And one of my friends was like, well, I went to this concert. And I was like, no way, wait, how was it? And she said, didn't you look at my story? Like, it looks so good, but I'll show it to you. And I was like, no, I didn't look at your story because I wasn't on social media, like I said. But why don't you tell me about it? Yes, please show me. Please show me what the concert was like. And please tell me what the concert was like. Speaking of concerts, speaking of, public events, back in the day, if you look at videos, I recently watched the video of Iris and I'll give up forever. And the way the concert looked so human and so beautiful, because nobody was holding up a metal piece of nothing, up and like recording. Everybody was in the moment. They were enjoying it. And I was like, oh my God, what would I not do to be back in that day? What would I not do to not be on a phone constantly? And, inevitably so, that's the world we live in, whether you like it or not. If you don't have a phone, if you choose to not be on social media, there will be friends and there will be people who honor that decision, but you eventually have to kind of get back on it. And if you actually feel the need to not, and if you just don't feel the need to not, you're one of the chosen ones. You're one of the lucky ones, because God, I've tried so many times and I just can't. Especially now that, I post regularly on TikTok about my brand and I'm trying to build it in public. Now I'm just kind of more on it, which is why I've also kind of started to read more, or I'm trying to get back into reading. I've made another video about it, but yeah, I just wanted to come on here and talk more about how 2026 is the last normal year, whether you like it or not. If you think you're not meant for a 9 to 5, because a lot of people, my own best friend, she loves that she's able to log in and log off and she doesn't have to worry about anything else. And she loves it. She loves her job. She has an amazing job in her favorite city in the world, in New York City, and she's killing it. But there's also a smaller percentage of people who were just not meant for a 9 to 5, and I know that because I'm one of them. I've worked a 9 to 5 a couple years in my life and I just couldn't do it, and I didn't want to waste more time trying to convince myself that I want to. I like to work during the hours I like to work at, and I like to do things a certain way, and I don't like logging off. I can't log off. I obsess over projects. I obsess over the tiny little details and the bigger picture, and I have so many thoughts in my head, and at times I find it difficult to just go about living my life without talking about my startup or without thinking about it. It's hard to go into a shopping store or a new country, a new city that I'm visiting, without being like, okay, where are the niche perfume stores at, or where are the local perfumeries, where can I test and sample some local perfumes. It's just hard for me now, but I love it. I love it, and you cannot pay me enough money. There's not enough amount of money you can pay me to work a 9 to 5. Does not matter. It just doesn't matter. I love having that autonomy, that authority over what I do and how I make my own hours. I want to say it's a privilege that not everybody can afford. A lot of people have to pay bills, they have dependents. I am just so fortunate that I don't have that and that I'm able to do something like this. So I definitely want to recognize the privilege and the luck there. But if you're able to take a bet on yourself, let this be a sign to do the unthinkable, to take the risk, to take that chance. Because the worst case scenario, say your business, your hobby, your project, whatever, doesn't work out, you go back to doing your 9 to 5. Given you have some years of work experience, you have a degree, you have a master's, whatever, you will figure it out. But best case scenario is that you are going to change your life. It will change your life. The best day to do something like this was yesterday. The next best day to do it is today. Don't wait for tomorrow. Don't wait for the perfect time. There is no such thing as perfect time. There really isn't. Don't let anybody tell you that there's a perfect time. By the time I have this much money saved up, by the time I've done this, by the time I live here, by the time... No, that is just excuses. That is just excuses. So let this be your sign to do it, to start. You know, if that means registering for an LLC, if that means baking up a deck, whatever it is, just start with posting about it. If that's something you want to do, start building that community, start identifying what it is that you can offer. And especially with AI, you can do so much. AI is like I said, whether you like it or not, use it to your advantage before it uses you. Use AI to your advantage before it uses you and puts you out of your job. That's pretty much all I had to say for this video, and stay tuned for the next one.